Hello guys, welcome back again to another tutorial. My name is Dorothy. In this video I'm going to show you how to draft this princess dart off shoulder bustier with a cut together sleeve. The sleeve is more like a strap sleeve, but it's cut together, and there is a technique to actually achieve this. So if this is something you are interested in, watch this video to the very end. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe. Turn on your bell notification so that you will get notified to when I drop new video. Without much being said, let's get right into the video. These are the two that I'll be using to draft. So as you can see, I've already laid my pattern paper. So what I'm going to do next is to rule an horizontal line of about half an inch. Okay, so go ahead and do the same. Rule an horizontal line of about half an inch, and this horizontal line is going to serve as the starting line or the shoulder line. So let me just label it as so. So guys, please take note, this side here is the center front, while this line is the shoulder line, like I just mentioned earlier. So the first thing I'm going to do on the shoulder line, I'm going to divide the shoulder measurement that I am working with by 2, and I'll mark it. On this point, I marked half of the shoulder measurement. I'm going to come down by 8 inches for the armhole line. Now to get your armhole line measurement, you're going to divide your bust circumference measurement by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Whatever figure you have, that is your armhole line measurement. After that, you're just going to use a ruler to connect the 2 points together to create the armhole line. This straight line is the armhole line, and you're also going to extend the line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line is going to be your chest line. I'm going to label this line the chest line. Now to mark the neckline measurement on this center front from the shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 7 inches for the neck depth. For this style, we don't need to come down by half an inch or 1 inch for the shoulder slant, but we are going to be dropping down the shoulder by 2.5 inches, and I mark that. Now to get the sleeve strap, you are going to divide your upper arm circumference by 4. The upper arm circumference that I am working with is 40 inches, so I divided it by 4 and I had 3.5 inches. Now I'm going to place my measuring tape slanted like this on these 2.5 inches that I came down by on the armhole line, and I will mark the 3.5 inches right here. Now I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect these 3 points together like this. Now if you don't want a straight neckline, you can go ahead to use the curve ruler to roll out the 3 line the same way I am doing right now. Now the next thing we are going to do is to determine the sleeve length. From this point I marked 2.5 inches. I'm going to come down by 3 inches. Now you can decide to make your sleeve length 2.5 inches or 3 inches or 3.5 inches depending on how you want it. On this new point I marked 3 inches. I'm going to place my measuring tape in a slanted manner like this, just like I did for the first one, and I'll mark out quarter of my round sleeve measurement. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together. While connecting the point, I was supposed to measure the distance, that is the sleeve length, before I connect the line. So when I connected this line, I discovered that the line was short, so I remember that I made a mistake and I needed to correct it. So I placed the measuring tape like this and I marked the sleeve length, which is 3 inches. Now I'm going to use my ruler to redraw this line, and I will also connect these 2 points together like this. Now to create the armhole curve on the chest line, I'm going to mark quarter of the bust circumference measurements that I am working with. So you're just going to divide your bust circumference measurement by 4 and mark it here. After that, I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect these 2 points together to create the armhole curve. So this line here is the wrong line that I marked earlier. Let me just mark it out. Now let's mark all the vertical points. To do this, you will simply place the measuring tape on the shoulder line. Now from the shoulder line to the bust point is 10 inches for me. I mark that. Then from the shoulder line to the under bust point is 13.5 inches. I mark that. From the shoulder line to the waistline is 17 inches. I mark that as well. Mind you, we are going to be taking the side dart later in the video. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect all of those points that I have marked horizontally. So go ahead and use your own body measurement here. So I'm just going to label all the points. Here is the bust point, here is the under bust point, and here is the waistline. Now the next thing we are going to be working on is the dart. On the bust point, you're going to mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement I am working with is 8 inches, divided by 2 is 4. So I mark it here on the bust point, on the under bust point, and on the waistline. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect these 3 points together on a straight line. Now for the dart leg, on the side of the center front I came in by half an inch, then on the side front I went out by 1 inch. So the dart intake that I have taken here is 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point to the waistline on the straight line, and I'll do the same thing to the side front. I'll connect this point to the waistline, and I'm going to connect this point from the under bust point to the bust point like this at the center front. Then on the side front, I'm going to use the curvy part of my ruler to connect the under bust points to the bust points like this. Now to create the princess dart, I'm just going to connect this dart line to this line here. To do that, I'm going to use the armhole curve ruler. I'll place it like this, okay, in such a way that it connects the dart line to the armhole. At this sharp point, you're just going to blend it up. It's not meant to be sharp, okay? Now to eliminate any form of armhole bulge on the armhole, the next thing we are going to do is to take a dart. So from this first princess dart line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and I'll make a mark. To eliminate any form of shortage when I'm joining these 2 pieces together, from this new point that I mark, I'm going to go out by the same 1 inch. After that, I'm just going to use the curvy part of my ruler to connect these points together like this. Now let's mark the body measurement. Since we have already marked the bust circumference measurement on the chest line, what we are going to do now is to measure the darts that we took here, then we replace it. After that, I will use the curvy part of my ruler to redraw the armhole curve. Now this old armhole curve is no longer needed, so I am just going to strike it out. Now here on the waistline, I'm going to mark quarter of my waist circumference measurement. That is, you simply divide your waist circumference measurement by 4 and mark it. Then this dart that I took, I will measure the dart and replace it as well. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect these points together like this. Now the next thing we are going to do is to take the side dart. On the bust point line, I'll come down by 1.5 inches. That is because the difference between my shoulder to waist in front and my shoulder to waist at the back is 1.5 inches difference. So make sure you confirm yours before you mark it. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect this point to the bust point like this. Before I close up the side dart, I'm just going to cut out some parts so that I will have smaller portion of pattern paper to work with. Okay, now to close up the side dart, I'm going to cut through this dart line like this all the way to the bust point. When you're cutting, make sure you do it carefully so that you don't cut through the entire bust point. So now I'm just going to cut through the side dart like this all the way to the bust point or the bust apex. Like I said before, you have to do it carefully so that you don't end up cutting this entire part out completely. So guys, this is how I am just going to close up this side dart. I will be using my water glue to hold these pieces together. If you don't have water glue, you can use your maxing tape or cello tape to hold it. So guys, I'm done using my water glue to hold this, and as you can see, this line is no longer equal. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my ruler to redraw the line like this. We are basically done drafting the front piece. Now let's cut this out. So guys, just watch the way I am cutting this out and follow the same process to cut yours too. So guys, this is what our front pattern looks like. So now I'm just going to keep this aside and let's work on the back pattern. we will be using this fresh pattern paper to draft the back pattern, and as you can see, I have already ruled out some line. So this line right here is for the zipper allowance, and this line here is for the shoulder line. From the shoulder line, I went on to mark all the vertical points, that is the bust point and the waistline. So since there is no under bust at the back, there is no need for under bust measurements for the back. Okay, so the first thing I did was to mark out my shoulder measurement. So I simply divide the shoulder measurement that I am working with by 2 and I mark it here. Then on this point, I mark the shoulder measurement. I came down by 8 inches for the armhole line measurement. I'm sure you already know how we got the armhole line measurement. You will simply divide your bust circumference measurement by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and whatever figure you have, that is your armhole line measurement. Now I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together on a straight line. This straight line is the armhole line, and I will also extend the line horizontally like this, and this horizontal line is the chest line. Moving on, just like we did for the first pattern, from the shoulder line we will come down by 2.5 inches and make a mark. Then for the neckline for the back, it remains 7 inches. So from the shoulder line, I came down by 7 inches and I make a mark. Now to create the sleeve strap, on this point I came down by 2.5 inches on the armhole line. I'm just going to place my measuring tape in a slanted form like this, and I'll mark 3.5 inches, which is quarter of the upper arm sleeve circumference. Now I'm just going to use my curve ruler to connect the points together. The reason why I am using the curve part of the ruler is because I don't want the back to be a V neckline. I want it to be like a round neckline. So I just use my curve ruler to make a point. Then after that, I use my free hands to connect the points that I make together. Now you can see that everything is in place. Now moving on, from this point that I came down by 2 inches, I came down by 3 inches for the length of the sleeve. After that, I placed the measuring tape in a slanted form like this to mark quarter of the upper arm circumference. Then I went on to mark the 3 inches length of the sleeve. Now I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the 2 points together like this. I hope you guys understand what I am saying. If you don't, go over this video again, rewatch it to gain more clarity. Now to create the armhole curve on the chest line here, I will simply divide the bust circumference measurement that I am working with by 4 and I'll mark it. Then I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect the points like this. To eliminate any form of zipper bulge on the waistline, I will come in by 1 inch, okay, and I'll make a mark. After that, I'll use my ruler to connect these points to the neckline. Now all the other measurements will be taken from this line. So on the waistline here, I'm just going to mark half of the nipple to nipple measurement that I am working with, which is 4 inches. Then I'll use my ruler to connect these points to the chest line like this. For the dart leg, I'm just going to mark half an inch on both sides. Then I will use my ruler to connect the points to the chest line just the way you see me doing. If you want to make your dart a princess dart, just go ahead and use your curve ruler to connect these points to the armhole line like this. But if you don't want a princess dart for the back, you can just work with the normal dart, okay? I want the back to be a princess dart, so I just use my curve ruler to connect the dart line on the bust points to the armhole. After connecting the point, this sharp edge here, I'm just going to use my marker to blend it. Now let's mark the body measurement. On the waistline, I'm just going to mark quarter of the waist circumference measurement that I am working with. Then this dart that I took on the waistline, I'm just going to measure it, then I'll replace it. After that, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect these 2 points together like this. Now let's mark the zipper allowance. On the neckline here, I'll mark 1 inch for the zipper allowance. The zipper allowance measurement I'm working with is just 1 inch. I don't like my zipper allowance too wide. If you want, you can do 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Then on the bust point, I mark the 1 inch. Just watch closely on how I am placing my tape rule to mark the 1 inch. Then on the waistline, I mark the same 1 inch, which happens to be on the zipper allowance gangan. Now I'm going to use my ruler to connect the points together like this. Now I'm just going to connect this neckline to the zipper allowance like this. Okay guys, we are basically done drafting the back pattern. Now let's cut this out. So here is the center back and here is the side back, and here are the front pieces. Okay, this one is the center front and this one is the side front. To know that your pattern is accurate and everything is okay, when you place the side front on the side back, the both side will be equal. If they are not equal, just go ahead to trim out any excesses that you see. And I forgot to cut out the dart on the side, so that is what I am doing right now. And that basically it, guys. If this tutorial was helpful, do well by giving this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment for me in the comment section if you have any suggestion, if you have any feedback, if you have any style inspiration that you want me to recreate, let me know. And if you want a sewing tutorial of this video, let me know in the comment section as well. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do well to subscribe. Turn on your bell notification so that you will get notified when I drop new video. For now, bye. I will see you all in my next one.